More am I. Good morning, everybody. My name is Reilly. I'm a Strategic Partnership Manager with Digital Isle of Man. We are one of the 5 executive agencies within the Department for Enterprise, and I'm also the project lead for this year's Innovation Challenge here on the Isle of Man. I'm joined on the panel today by Shelley Langan-Newton, CEO of SQR, who are a business based here on the Isle of Man and focused on intelligent identity infrastructure. And Brendon, who is, among many things, Chief Innovation Officer at ClickTick, Business Development Director at Ellenstone, and also an ambassador for the British and Irish Trade Alliance. So the Innovation Challenge this year is actually the 4th edition of the challenge. We started initially with a FinTech Innovation Challenge. That's one of the sectors that Digital Isle of Man supports. That then evolved into include biotech, clean tech, as well as fintech, and underscored by our biosphere status, and was a collaborative effort with all of the executive agencies within the Department for Infrastructure. So Digital Isle of Man, Business, Finance, Locate, and Visit. This year, the focus has shifted, and it's focused on health and social care. And what we've done is we've invited innovators from around the world to come and solve real-world challenges here in the Isle of Man. Now, we're not offering a prize. We're not offering any kind of funding or grants. What we're offering is access and opportunity. So we had 467 registrations for this year's challenge. It was a record-breaking year. 125 challenge entries. We whittled that down to a final 16, and we've just started the final contextualization phase. So when I talk about access, the finalists will now get direct access to clinicians and frontline staff from across our health and social care sector. We'll run a series of online workshops that provide context and insight and direct contact with our sector here. And the opportunity is, at the end of a 10-week process, we'll invite all of the finalists and we'll put them in a room with all of the key decision makers from across our health and social care sector, along with business leaders and investors from the Isle of Man. And kind of Dragon's Den style, we'll give each of them a 10-minute slot to pitch their solution to that room. And this challenge really is designed to do 3 things. It's about driving awareness of the Isle of Man on a much wider scale. It's about bringing innovation to the Isle of Man. But of course, it's also about solving real-world problems. Now, Shelley, as a winner of a previous challenge, you've been through this. What did that mean for your business? And what does it say about how the Isle of Man is an environment for innovation?
It was, that was what year are we in now? 2026. We were 2023, I think we won. It was, when we did win that year, it was also our first launch. And so to be such an early stage business and to be in amongst an international competition against some incredible, so very much our current competitors were against us in that challenge, and it was slightly daunting, but it was utterly transformative for us as a business, because we were able to. A lot of what we do is about trust, and how do we get people to trust us, either with their business or with their end users. So we do identity proving, and so helping people prove who they say they are. And that's massively, you need to trust us. So how do you trust an early stage business? And it helped us massively solve that problem. Not solve it, but contribute to solving the problem. And so it really was a launch pad for us, and something that I think if I still in most meetings mention, oh, you know that thing in 2023 that we won. So it's something I still talk about, and still very proud of the team. And to your second part of your question, and I know we don't have much time, so I'll try and keep my TED talk very small. Innovation generally on the Isle of Man for our business, certainly. it helps to have an ecosystem that you can flywheel from and get massive. We're a product-based business, we need feedback, and we're very open to feedback, but actually to be able to get that in a closed sort of, or not closed system, but a smaller ecosystem, you get that feedback really, really quickly. And so it meant that we could take that on board and then rapidly make adjustments to what we were doing. So, yeah.
Perfect, thanks. Brendon, you're talking to a lot of businesses about establishing a presence here in the Isle of Man, using the Isle of Man to kind of expand into other markets and that kind of thing. How does the Innovation Challenge fit into the conversations that you're having with your clients?
It's absolutely fundamental. I mean, I've had finalists in each of the Innovation Challenges for the last 4 years, which has been superb. And basically, it allows them to have that platform. And also, when you say access all areas, one of the biggest challenges businesses have is how do we get the first customer? How do we get that proof? And I know SQR, you manage the company's register, and you secured that. So again, for credibility-wise, that's a massive leap forward when you're going into other jurisdictions. And having that access across a jurisdiction where you can speak to the people, and if it's a no, and it's a quick no. People would rather have a quick no than a long, oh, maybe, possibly, and a week next Tuesday we might do it. So it gives that ability to test, communicate and evaluate your product and service in a market. And I've got one who was a finalist last year, and I've got a big shout out to Work Solutions with the adaptive classroom, and which has got a 12-month pilot in Jubilee School on the Isle of Man, which is for special educational needs. It makes everyone in the class feel inclusive because the classroom flexes to the pupils. It's absolutely fantastic, and many more examples.
Yeah, that level of access, like you say, is one of the unique things about the Isle of Man. Here, because we're a small island and everybody's so well connected, it's easy to get potential new businesses in front of the right types of people, establish those conversations and connect people in a way that you can't really replicate in other jurisdictions, right?
I think it's really difficult. I mean, it's difficult because I haven't had that experience of being in other jurisdictions, but I do travel a fair bit. And actually, I say unfortunately, fortunately, London, I travel to London a lot just with the nature of it being arguably quite close to the Isle of Man, which is very helpful. But so much is going on there. And to get the level of impact in a city like that, it would take you a lot longer. You would struggle to find the right decision makers or the right community connectors that are going to be in those different places just because of the sheer size. So the fact that you can get to that much more quickly helps immensely.
Yeah, it really helps that everyone's just kind of a 5-minute walk away. And if you're connected with somebody like Brendon, he can put you in front of those people. It's really easy to get that kind of access, right?
It is, that you've got to build the trust with the people, and we want to attract the right organisations to come to the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man is a fantastic living lab. We're now encouraging universities. So in the room, I think I've got 2 universities, one Cumbria, Phil Lee, who's doing the RSC RIM. And again, how do we connect the Isle of Man across and be pivotal to how that can all work? We're building fantastic foundations with the Data Asset Foundation, which for people who don't know, it is a game changer for innovation and how we actually can utilise data as an asset on a balance sheet, a world first on the Isle of Man. So I really hope we get further discussion on that today. We've got Liverpool University, hopefully Carl's arrived if the plane isn't delayed, where they can get research projects and use the Isle of Man as that living lab. We've got a population of 85,000. It's a microcosm of the UK, with all the problems the UK have got, but in a smaller way. And we can solve the problem, learn here, export there, and grow from the base on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, absolutely. So a question to you both, I guess. The Innovation Challenge is really putting the Isle of Man in front of a much wider audience, as we've just talked about this year. What does it say about where the island is heading, do you think?
The world domination, helped by all the Celtic nations. I think it's incredible to see how many. Are you able to say how many organisations applied for this year's challenge?
Yeah, we had 125 applications from 25 countries around the world. That was a record-breaking year for us. To give you an idea, last year we had 34 applications, so it really has exploded this year.
And it's incredible to see that has attracted so many different organisations from around the world. It is really incredible. And I'm just going to say it's not wholly down to SQR winning that first. And then the whole world follows. But I'm probably going to say that quite a lot.
Take the credit where you can. Brendon, what do you think?
No, I think where we're heading is that we can be a partner throughout the world, but where we sit in the middle of the Irish Sea, we can be a partner for the Celtic nations. We can do things on the Isle of Man which you can't do in other areas. One example, Lee, who's going to be talking later, around maritime. So around the UK, anyone who's in the maritime sector, it's heavily regulated for where you can test autonomous surface and submersibles. We don't have regulation around the Isle of Man at the moment. That doesn't mean we're going to we want everything, but what it means is we can shape how we work to adapt to solve other people's problems and again be that living lab and then help to export. But I can't stress enough how important the Data Asset Foundation is for the future of the Isle of Man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we weren't going to talk about data asset foundations this morning, but if anybody does want to talk about it and establishing data as an asset, come and find me and I'll tell you more about that. I guess my follow-up question is about where this is heading. What kind of lessons do you think the other Celtic nations can take from what the Isle of Man is doing with our innovation challenge?
Run your own innovation challenges. Work out where your problems are, share your problems with the world, create that opportunity for the people to come and help to solve your problems, right? There's massive problem solvers out there. There's founders. Mary's over there invested into women entrepreneurs. A lot of those organizations where Angel Network are invested in, they need to prove their product, prove their market, right? If you've got your area and you've got strengths, open up to the innovators. That's my message, is be open, talk to people, and don't do what you've always done. Do something different.
Yeah, and I suppose from my perspective is why did we apply for the Innovation Challenge in the first place? It's because the question that was asked, the problem that was the problem statement to solve was one we went, we're building that actually. So holy moly, we should definitely apply for that because we are actively solving that problem. And so that solving it, positioning it as a challenge to be solved and letting the great businesses come to you is, and I'll say it no-brainer, maybe? A no-brainer.
Fair enough. So we've just literally started off the contextualization phase of this year's Innovation Challenge. I ran the welcome session for the finalists yesterday. One or two are in this room, so welcome to you guys. And we'll be building up to a finale day on the 25th of June where we'll put all of those finalists in a room, as I say, give them the opportunity to pitch to a really captive audience. The Isle of Man really is a place where things actually get done. Agencies collaborate, businesses can test, they can prove, and they can grow in a way that's hard to replicate elsewhere. If you want to find out more about the Innovation Challenge, we've only had a short time to discuss it this morning. Come and find me. If you're interested in what the Isle of Man is like as a place to do business, please come and find Brendon. And if you'd like to know more about what it's like to not only found a business, but grow and scale a business here in the Isle of Man, Shelley is the person that you need to speak to. But for now, thank you very much for your time and have a great day.